All right, as I usually do, I should dreaming today. Um, I had forgotten about the debate between Loeffler and Warnock in Georgia. That's one of the two Senate seats that, if the Democrats were able to flip, they'll subsequently have half of the House and then, not House, the Senate, and then be able to theoretically own the Senate because Harris will act as their 51st vote in any, tie breaking that goes on. Oh, Dio finally showed up. I'm so happy. But yeah, I forgot about the debate. I wasn't really paying any attention to the candidates. I've had Loeffler begging me for donations for the last couple of months, and I gotta say, after watching it, I started to think that. So I had this joke when I was streaming on Saturday the about Decepticons, and it feels like that was like foreshadowing because Loeffler sounded like a damn robot throughout the entire thing. Every single time she addressed Warnock, she said, "Radical liberal Raphael Warnock, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, radical liberal Raphael Warnock." They had a guy on Twitter who said that his wife asked him if he was replaying moments of the debate because she couldn't believe that this woman was referring to Warnock by that moniker over and over every single time she addressed him. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock, radical liberal Raphael Warnock. And then, of course, they ask her the obligatory, do you acknowledge Biden won the election a month after he won the election question? And she refused to directly answer it. She said, if Trump has a legal case to pursue, then we should let him pursue it. Even all of his cases are getting thrown out of court. And even members of his own staff are planning on leaving and doing their own thing after January 20th. So, she's really holding out hope. And they were talking about this on CNN, how she's walking a tightrope of having to not outright say that Biden didn't win, but also not outright say that he did. And she's doing that to try and get Trump supporters to vote for her. And I'm like, it's really sad that because she's a candidate who, according to various websites, has voted with Trump in some cases 100% of the time. So she is objectively an ally of his, one of his stronger allies in the Senate. And it's really sad that rather than her voting record speaking for itself in terms of her being someone who has a similar ideology, she has to be, concerned that these people are going to get butthurt because she acknowledges the results of an election. Theo, imagine if you were a senator running for a runoff election in 2017 before Trump got inaugurated, and people were like, "Do you acknowledge that Trump has won the election?" And you're like, "Well, if Hillary believes that she has a chance, she should." Like, you have to do that because you think these people are going to turn on you for admitting the truth. Yeah, I hadn't seen JMO in like a year. I don't know where he disappeared to. He played the Vanishing Act. He disappeared like Jimmy Hoffa. That'd be funny if I had like wanted posters for subs that vanished. Like, I haven't seen this person since October 10th of last year. Yeah, because I had this one person that was harassing me on a stream that subscribed to me 2 years ago, wrote one comment, and then like vanished all the way between when they wrote that comment and then 2 streams ago. And they made their grand return by trying to like have a romance debate with me, which never ends well for those that participate in that. Fake, what is that? Fake votes, fake news, fake everything. No, it's sad because I would prefer that she wins because I don't want the Democrats to have the Senate because they're not going to try to pass anything that is actually serious. But I have to say her performance was so atrocious that I would have to give the victory to Warnock, even if he's a candidate that I don't want to see win. She just kept repeating radical liberal Raphael Warnock over and over again. and then not answering multiple questions, whether it was when they asked her if she would acknowledge that Biden had won the election, or if she was wrong for doing the insider trading thing, which happened shortly after she became a senator. It was just awful. And that was like a cartoon. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Do you acknowledge that Biden has won the presidential election? Well, if President Trump has any legal justification for not believing that this should go his way, then he should go into the courts. He already has. All of his cases keep getting thrown out. Have you been watching the news? Oh my God. If I was a senator, I'd make it so colleges can't make you take classes unrelated to your major. Yeah, it was really crazy to be a political science major and like be freaking out about not being able to pass a math class. It's like I'm over here and I'm specializing in, this particular field, and I'm doing well in it because I actually, you won't believe me, on one test got one of the highest scores. Not trying to brag or anything, and I'm over here struggling and like worrying about whether if this is a sure thing of me getting enough credits over some class that doesn't even have anything to do with what I'm talking about or trying to major in. Binge watched like this is a movie or a series of episodes. No, that debate was really goofy. And she really proved she has no. I don't know who her because a lot of times when people debate when they're running for office, they have a debate prep team. At least the presidential candidates do. I don't. She either had no debate prep team, or the people that she got to prep her should be fired. Because I don't know who told her that made sense. Just keep spamming this nickname for this man every time you respond or address him. And then she couldn't even fend off because he pointed out that she's the richest senator. She couldn't even fend off that. You know, all she had to say was, "While I may have later acquired wealth, I still worked lower class positions and am thus aware of how one can transition from being at the bottom to being at the top, which is why I have sponsored such and such." There's a really easy way to flip that into being a positive thing, and she couldn't do it. She just said, "Oh well, I worked to get to where I am," which is what every rich person says. But he still was effective in pointing out that she is the richest senator. And the one thing she could have done to make that not seem like it's a villainous trait, she didn't do. No, every rich person that runs for office always says they're self-made. Even the ones like Trump that inherit their wealth from their dad. It's like I did everything I could to get here. It's like, no, you didn't. It's really comical. So I said U.S. politics gets just to be really ridiculous because the only thing they talked about during that whole debate was COVID, her insider trading scandal from months back, the election results, and that was pretty much it. They didn't talk about healthcare. They didn't talk about any of the 7 countries we're bombing. Just it went right out the window. That's the one thing about COVID that really is a little bit irritating, that there are so many other issues that are still going on that just get completely dropped or forgotten about over this virus. Yeah, it's really goofy. Yeah, they didn't ask her about Somalia or Libya or Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria or Pakistan or Yemen. None of those countries the U.S. is bombing, but they'll talk about an insider trading scandal that was only in the news for like a week before it got thrown out. All these thousands of people we kill for no damn reason every year. They don't mention any of that. Yeah, they never talk about the pointless wars. Usually, the only time you can even get a senator or a congressman on record about what their position is with respect to any of these overseas conflicts is when they vote on something. And then when they have those votes, they're very seldom actually put to task for voting the way they did. So if some congressman or senator votes to stay in Afghanistan for what's the 20th anniversary next year of us being over there, you're not going to see their local news affiliates go and confront them over that and say, "Hey, we've been over there for almost 20 years. What will be the difference this year?" They never ask them. That's why I said a lot of people assume that these members of Congress, what's a good way of saying it, are put to task. Like are actually made to have to answer for what they do, but it's very rare. I heard Biden's cabinet is pretty bad. Um, it's all run of the mill, neoliberal. Like really, the only person he picked that had me wanting to tear my hair out was Neera Tanden. That's only because I can't stand that heifer. But the other ones are just like little stooges that he's been friends with, and that's what happens whenever someone wins a presidential election, or really whenever they win an election, they bring all their friends with them. Killing poor brown people is necessary to American prosperity. Next question, please. Well, you gave the Liz Cheney answer, because even with the little peace stuff that Trump did, like with North Korea, she found a way to get upset at that. You're talking to a dictator, and this is making the U.S. look bad. U.S. already looks bad. Just go ask anybody that lives in one of those Middle East countries that we bomb every year for no reason. No, they just don't mention it to the. It's funny that there are people overseas who know more about what the U.S. military does than people that are from the U.S. Like you'll really be surprised how many people that when it gets mentioned we bomb 7 countries every year don't even know that, or that we have troops in over 100 countries. And then they try to accuse Trump of having started those conflicts when 2 of them were started by the younger Bush and 5 of them were started by Obama after he got the Nobel Peace Prize for no reason. Oops. We bomb countries and then we fund the attackers. Yeah, we have a problem with some, like we always go in trying to say that we have the moral high ground, and then we just stay there year after year, and you have these various military officials that try to like gaslight us about leaving. Like, oh, if we leave, it's going to become unstable. It's like you go to any of those places where bombs are just randomly getting dropped on civilians, and tell me that's stable. That we've helped to make things better. No, U.S. foreign policy is just like a cancer on the world. They go out and kill so many people for no reason. And then over here, it gets barely talked about. You'll hear more people talking about whether, I don't know, a religion should accept a gay person than they will all these different countries that we have getting blown to pieces every year. It's really insane how much domestic issues just dwarf international ones. Because really, there's no domestic issue that can be done in a really poor manner that's going to end up killing as many people as we have overseas, just collectively. Because even with COVID, I said that a big part of what was irritating about the coverage of it is that while Trump does have some blame, they do tend to obfuscate from the incompetence of statewide leaders. So Cuomo had people, go to nursing homes and get infected there. The governor of South Dakota decided that it was a good idea to not have any mask mandates. There's a lot of stupid stuff that's being done by people who are in charge of a state government, various governors, and because they're all doing their orange man bad routine, they're not. None of that is getting talked about. So that means all of these governors get to be incompetent, but because they're not the in the executive branch, it gets overlooked. That's a nice fitting scenario. It's like, hey, we know you're responsible for people getting sick as well, but because you're not Trump, you don't get covered every day or at all. Yeah, I think Warnock's probably gonna. I don't want to say he's gonna win because I have this pessimism about the Democrats' chances in the South. Basically, there's this routine where every 2 years, when they have a House or Senate election, they get some charismatic person, that people like, and the Democrat out fundraises or outraises the Republican, and then everybody's like, "Oh my God, the seat's gonna flip, the seat's gonna flip," and then it doesn't flip, and they're like, "What? I can't believe it! I can't believe this Republican state voted for Republican. Wow!" It happened with O'Rourke. It happened with that Jamie Harrison guy in South Carolina. It's the same thing over and over. Where there's a red state, the Democrat outraises the Republican. People, start getting wetting themselves over the prospect of getting rid of this person, and then they get smashed. And governor sounds like a good deal. Unlimited mess ups with no blame. Yeah, that's why I hate that people see all of these are little like problems that already started because I talked about how a lot of people don't even know who their governor or representative is or senators, which has been the case with people that live next to and around me, where they don't even know who their senators are, even though there's only two of them, or their governor. So when you have people who don't pay attention to their state leaders, those state leaders are able to do more crooked things without getting caught, including screwing up in terms of COVID relief or otherwise, not COVID relief, but responding to the threat of the virus. Hell yeah, I'll take your guns. Didn't blow over in Texas. No, he was. I'm not even talking about the presidential campaign. I'm talking about when he ran against Cruz. Like, and it's really it was funny to watch Cruz celebrate winning by 2% in a red state. It's like, hey, I almost got defeated in my own backyard, but I pulled out. That was comical. Because if I was him, I would be embarrassed. That's like a Democrat only winning by a handful of points in California. It's like you're really going to celebrate that you barely won in a state you're supposed to just sweep the other party in all the time forever. That's your victory. Yeah, I think that both of those Senate races could go either way. Although Perdue is really a piece of trash because he won't even debate his opponent. And it's like this is a sitting senator who, under normal circumstances, debates the nominee of the other major party. So if you're a Republican senator, you debate the Democratic nominee. If you're a Democratic senator, you debate the Republican nominee. And he wouldn't even do that. And he was one of the same. No, I'm not going to say that. I don't remember which one it was because I was going to say he was part of the insider trading thing, but I forgot that he might not have been a part of that, so I'm not going to accuse him. But my point is that he has also been in controversies, and if Loeffler had a garbage performance, he had an even worse one by simply not showing up, by ignoring his opponent. And that's what a lot of these Republican senators are doing. Graham did the same thing in South Carolina because he didn't want to be around plexiglass or something. So for people who are supposed to be these courageous leaders, they sure act like pussies. Like, how cowardly are you if you can't sit in a room and debate somebody? Oh my God, I'm so scared. They're supposed to be standing up to all these foreign countries, and they can't even stand up to a guy in a suit and tie in a room filled with like 3 people. I gotta get away from him. I heard Purdue was bad. Is he in New Jersey? No, he's from Georgia. No, New Jersey has Booker and Menendez as their senators, and Menendez is one of the most crooked senators of all time. So that lets you know how trash some of the people out there are. Yeah, they're so afraid. They're supposed to be these courageous leaders, but then they're running away from their debate opponents. And again, that would make sense if it was some random person, like if I challenge a senator to a debate, I expect them to say no or to ignore the request. But this is the other major party's nominee, and you're like terrified to go into a room with them and speak about issues, which is something you should be doing almost daily as a member of the U.S. Senate anyway. So I said I don't think the Democrats should have the Senate, but if the Republicans lose it, I wouldn't be too upset because they've done a lot of their candidates do stupid things that don't make sense, like running from their debate opponents. I'm so scared. It's the same thing on YouTube where Jimmy Doris talked about having. Oh, how you doing, Jimmy? The other Jimmy has talked about having AOC on his show before she became a member of the House. And after she became a member of the House, she never came on his show again. He said that she came on his show to get elected and run away. And the only member of the House that ever goes on his show still is Ro Khanna, which is one of the reasons that I like him more than the rest of them. So these people are supposed to be standing up to foreign powers and domestic threats, but they can't even stand up to a a talk show host, to what do you call it, to a comedian in his garage. If you elect me, I'll make sure that Putin doesn't hack our elections. Will you go on the Jimmy Dore show? No. Non-related. I don't even know who that is. The only Kevin I know is the one from Ed, and Eddie with the red hat and the green shirt and the black shorts. That's the only Kevin. Oh, and Kevin Owens, I guess. Those two. So Kevin from Ed, and Eddie and Kevin Owens. They just want the power. They don't care to solve the issues or even discuss them. Oh, especially the latter. Um, I was going to play this clip of Mark Pocan. I mentioned him as one of the progressives that's supposed to be better than the other Democrats. And he literally said on Tom Hartman's show about a week ago, let's not bring Medicare for all up to the floor for a House vote because it's not going to pass. I was thinking to myself, how the hell are you in one of the most powerful positions on, just in the US as a member of the House? And you act this damn weak. Like, the whole point of putting something up for a vote is so you can see who supports it and who opposes it in the case that it fails. And if it fails, you then go and try to either change those people's opinions about it, or if it's someone that you just don't think is going to work with you on this, you campaign for them to lose their seat next time. Like, it's so disturbing that someone who's been in the House for, 5 terms would be stupid enough to say something like that. Oh, let's not even bother voting on this because it's not going to pass. Even though the whole damn point, there are multiple bills that came up for a vote and didn't pass the first time and then later get passed. I remember the Yemen withdrawal failed in the Senate twice before it got passed. So it's really idiotic that someone in the House actually thinks that way. let's not vote on this because I don't think it'll pass. Even though the whole point of voting for something is so you can see who voted against it and for it, and then use that to get it passed the next time. Whatever. Well, I just told you the only two Kevins I'm aware of. So unless that Kevin is on a skateboard or in the WWE, I don't know who he is. Unless he's on a children's cartoon or in the WWE, I'm not aware of him. Don't scream me, Dio. You could just type that man's name in regular what you didn't have to put it in cap locks. Kevin Smith. I think Dio just at his house screaming from the window this man's name. Yeah, I'm aware of that one. He just didn't come to mind when I answered that. I really don't know who the other person is, and from the way he's being described, that's probably for the better. Wasting trillions of dollars in a senseless war is just fine, but spending a few billion universal healthcare is absolutely absurd. Well, that's what is strange to me because every time I hear that we don't have money to pay for things, they spend. I'm looking at the defense budget and it gets like a little bit larger every year. Like it was 800 billion, then it was 717 billion before that, and 600 billion before. And I'm like, how the hell? Where do they get this from? Thin air? They have like a money growing tree for war. You just pull some dollars off of there, send them to go buy a tank. Every time people say they don't have money for something it's like every time they say that, they always magically have something that like cost around the same or more than what you want. The sick and the wounded will be turned into ammo. Oh, we can use gunpowder in our health. Oh, no. You get my point. I just find it really sad that you can't even get universal health care during a pandemic relating to people's health. Like if under this kind of circumstance you can't pass single payer, I don't know when you can. You really could, but they're just too cowardly to, Democrats in the House are worthless. Expand Obamacare. What the hell does that even mean? Lower the Medicare age to 55. Oh, thanks. You took a half a decade off. I can't wait to apply for it in 30 years. No, they don't even care. They just do stupid stuff. They're like, oh, yeah, this is good. This is really going to affect people's lives positively. Did you say interview where the guy didn't recognize Taiwan for the CCP and hung up? No, I did not. I don't know what guy you're talking about. There are a lot of people that don't recognize anything about China. They couldn't even tell you who the leader over there is. Usually the only thing I see people be able to remember from China is that they have the largest population in the world of any country. That's about it. I'll make sure I was spelling this man's name right. Xi Jinping. I always put an X instead of the J. Because the way it sounds always reminds me of that letter instead of the other one. I still haven't talked about Barr and his goofy stuff. You mentioned at the start of the stream, they got grilled in the making of a bold statement, and they said they didn't hear the person who hung up. Well, that was similar to what happened with Mark Meadows, where the reporters wanted him to keep on his mask, and then he took it off and like still a little distance from them, and they asked him, "You keep your mask on," then he just left. It's like, damn, these people really just don't care about anybody's health but their own. They're like, oh yeah, all of you have your mask on, but I'm Superman, so I'm gonna have to put mine on. No, I just always remember that moment. That was because they just wanted him to speak for like a minute or two, and he wouldn't even do that because they wanted him to keep his mask on. Yeah, that person sounds like they didn't want to get interviewed. We can't afford to give you a stimulus during an economic collapse, but we conveniently have billions of dollars invested in militarizing the police because municipal, because freedom. Well, the other thing is the Republicans, particularly McConnell, hold up a lot of bills in the Senate, and you don't see the Democrats campaigning on it. You don't see them saying, "Hey, we haven't passed a stimulus bill what in 9 months." And you have the Senate, the Grim Reaper, who admits that he doesn't even bring bills up for a vote as we're going on break and taking all these little relaxing periods where we're not doing anything. How'd they manage to turn health into a political stance? Because they have a lot of supporters who, buy into the BS about the virus not being that bad or whatever. Um, I mean, I had one person who actually came on my channel and said that it was like a hoax or whatever, that all these 200,000 people that died are gonna like climb out of their caskets. It was all just this big, acting scene. And I tried to ban that person. One of my mods said that was censorship, and I'm like, if I had, which I haven't, but if I, for example, had someone that was close to me die from COVID, do you think I would really want to allow someone to write that disease was fake? Just saying, it's really people on here just don't care. They say whatever because they're enabled by these politicians that don't take this stuff seriously. Bloomberg could have literally afforded a stimulus to the entire country if he wanted to. Yeah. Well, he spent billions of dollars on that stupid presidential campaign that went nowhere. He'd crack out another few billions for people. Could you imagine if Bloomberg paid for like the whole state of New York to go to college? Because he could do that. Because most, like the price usually at most after a couple of years is somewhere in the tens of thousands. So he definitely could do that if he wanted to. He'd be a much more popular person, I'll tell you that. But no, instead of doing something as charitable as that, he'll go and do some stupid presidential campaign that goes nowhere. I'm gonna run as a right winger when a right winger is one of the front runners, and I'll do so well. They're gonna pick an actual Republican to go against another Republican. Now, the thing with Barr is really funny because the entire time that he's been Attorney General, he's been characterized as Trump's main, like as this really big ally for him. So he'll go with him on a lot of the BS. So he'll say that uh, you know that Trump was spied on or the Democrats did whatever to him. And this is like the first time ever that he's actually said something that is counterintuitive to what Trump's position is after what almost 2 years as Attorney General. So now Trump is like, oh well, uh, I can't believe you would do this to me. And it's like Barr is not stupid in the sense that he goes with what Trump wants because he wants to stay as Attorney General, and that it's all about the loyalty game. But if he sees all of these cases, these legal cases by the Trump campaign being thrown out over and over again, he's really supposed to sit there and go, "Well, I guess it was all rigged, even though the courts are saying it wasn't. I have to trust the president over those in charge of the law." Maybe then people wouldn't be hating on the billionaires. Dude didn't donate a dime to relief efforts. Nothing at all. Like I said, a lot of these rich people, there's a lot of stuff they could do to help other people with their money. And again, no one is saying they have to, but if you just look like you're sitting up in your little castle not doing anything, don't be surprised when people don't like you. Hell, the only reason a lot of people even like the rich rappers is because of the music. I mean, we already know from all these overseas wars that people don't care about other people. If I can make a couple of millions, to hell with if a few thousand people die overseas. That's why that Mike Revell had that quote: "If you kill one person, it's murder. If you kill thousands, it's foreign policy." Oh my God, it's insane that that's actually correct. Oh, and then Biden picked my attorney general for his cabinet. The only reason I'm a little bit glad about that is because Becerra was one of the. It was him, um, Villaraigosa, and the mayor of LA, Garcetti, that were supposed to be the ambitious next generation of California politicians. So the three of them were supposed to be jockeying to be senator and governor. Um, and now instead it looks like it's just going to be the two of them instead. So this like takes up his efforts, and it also means that because Harris's seat is vacant, there's a higher chance that Roe might get it. But I'm still not holding my breath. It really sucks too because there's a lot of good he can do in the Senate, but people are they like their neoliberals over here. Or how Republicans claim to be anti-government, then are the first ones to side with crooked police officers. Yeah, they're I don't get them at all because you'll have them give these speeches about reform and equality, and then they just still will side with law enforcement in almost every single instance. Like I just it's really sad that they're just so narrow minded. Like every time we have to group up with blue. I remember they asked McConnell they asked McConnell something about like efforts the Republicans are making toward recruiting or otherwise, so getting support from African Americans, and like his only thing he could say was that one of the Republican senators is black. Like that's the only thing he could mention. No, she hasn't renounced it yet. Hello, some stupid automated crap. She'll probably not resign until at the end of this month or at the beginning of next month. They usually don't do it until a few days before because she's trying to finish out the rest of the session of Congress probably, which ends on January 3rd. So that'll likely be when she announces her resignation. But yeah, it sucks that her seat's probably going to go to some clown instead of somebody that actually can do something good. And again, the presidency is going to go to some clown instead of someone that can do something good. So it's all tied together. It all adds up. Just a bunch of buffoonery. Yeah, Barr is on his last legs. Imagine like losing a presidential election and being a lame duck and only having 2 months left, and then you just lose a whole bunch of cabinet members. Because you're supposed to theoretically not leave those seats vacant. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Trump just says to hell with it and just doesn't even. We just don't have an attorney general for a couple of weeks. Which is really insane because lame duck presidents aren't supposed to have people that just, you know, vanish or quit before their term is over. Hell, it was pretty rare for one-term presidents to have people leave really at all. It's strange to me. But whatever. All kind of weird stuff keeps happening, so I'm not too surprised. It's really comedic because I was at one point thinking of doing a video on Barr, just kind of going over all the weird stuff that has happened while he's been Attorney General. But I don't know. I might do it after he leaves. Yeah, it's such a shame that politics is so rancid over here. Like right now in Georgia, you can either if you can either get with a Democrat who's Republican light or a Republican who was a rubber stamp for the previous president. In both cases, like in both races, that's the dynamic. And it's weird too, because according to those excerpts from Warnock's speeches that he gave when he was just a reverend, he was a lot more progressive in terms of certain issues. Like they mentioned that he called Israel an apartheid state and was mentioning how they were being evil to their government rather was being evil to the Palestinians, and that uh, just it's sad that when you hear something like that, that's so reminiscent of what a lot of U.S. progressives would say about that particular region, and it's really disturbing to know that this man who might have views that are more in line with that ideology is now having to pivot to being right wing so he can win this seat in this conservative state. And again, a lot of times that does work. I mean, look at Manchin. I think he is a really awful, just senator, but he's very popular in West Virginia. So they like their Republican light. I see Dio got tired. He stopped typing stuff. He gave up. Said to hell with my keyboard. Oh, you're thinking. You're over there trying to figure out what you're gonna type next, just deep in thought. I just imagine he's like sitting there just hmm, just staring at his keyboard, wondering what next thoughts are gonna appear in his head. What he can say to make things a certain way. Endlessly staring into the void. Um, yeah, it really seems like nothing ever gets better with American politics. Like we're always just going to be bombing multiple countries that we don't even know about, the majority of us anyway, forever. Because a lot of people say it's a stretch to say we'll be in Afghanistan forever, but it's already been 20 years. So what's another 20? See, the way this works is that they go over there, they give you some little, BS reason as to why they're over there, and they always find a way to extend it. They always say, "Oh, well, this year this happened, and we're making progress," and people buy into that crap. So it just keeps getting these little extensions until you're in some country that nobody even knows about for a decade or so. I just think it's really nuts. And throughout Trump's entire term, and that's really another thing that pisses me off. I've had these people like Thomas Massey who know better that kept trying to say that Trump was trying to get out of the wars. I'm like, he still signed off on all of those military budgets. And the only country that he was really trying to make peace with, which was North Korea, we weren't even at war with anyway. So like, I don't just people just say things. They don't even care how accurate it is. Yeah, the only thing I can say about his foreign policy that was good was that he didn't start any new wars, but he still kept the. He's like the first. What do you call it? The first president of like the last three that didn't start a war, but they all the ones that carried over from Bush and Obama are still here. And now that Obama's vice president is taken over, we can assume that a couple of them are still going to be here for the next 4 years. I know Biden said something about wanting to get out of Yemen. So I'll be interested in seeing if that's actually true. But I'm fully of the belief, should Biden serve out his whole term and only have one term, and be succeeded by whoever the next president is after that, we'll be in the majority of these 7 wars for the next until 2025, which is just awful. But Americans don't care. They vote for these people. Trump increased drone strikes by 300%. Oh, I know he did. And Obama bombed Syria so much he ran out of bombs. I'm happy that Biden won now. They'll have to suck it up like the Republicans tell us. Well, it was really funny watching the tapes get replayed from after the 2016 election where the Republicans were saying that Hillary was a crybaby and needed to get over it, even though she literally conceded the day after the election, whereas it's been a month and Trump still hasn't conceded. Like, how does that work? How does the person who conceded the day after the election somehow end up looking worse than the person who hasn't conceded a month after the election? What kind of Twilight Zone logic is that? No, it has been fun to watch a lot of the Republicans, kind of like the ones on the internet, go into hiding. Because every time I would do a video talking about some poll that showed that Biden was up, they would go, "Are these the same fake polls?" And after the last month, they don't come around anymore. I've noticed a real steep decline. I didn't say that he would, Dio. Play the video where I said Biden would last 2 terms. I'd love to see that. I also would love to play the video that of Jank from TYT saying that Trump wouldn't last 1 term. That video aged like milk. Yeah, it's been really comedic to watch them just spinning their wheels. I can't believe Trump lost. There's no way he could have lost legitimately. This must be rigged. Ah. But yeah, Dio, show me where I said that that Biden was gonna have 2 terms. I'd love to see that video. That'd be an excellent thing to highlight for everybody. Let me know when you pull it off. So exactly, I never said that. Dio's over here trying to accuse me of something like he's an attorney and I'm on trial. He's the prosecution and I'm the defendant. Civilian casualties in the Middle East have skyrocketed under Trump, not to mention backing the Israeli state in the elimination of the Palestinians. Yeah, it's been awful. What was I going to say? We already knew that under Obama, 90% of the drone strikes hit the wrong person. So imagine that being taken up. What was it, 300% you said earlier? If everyone would have watched The Simpsons, it was a conspiracy that Trump was not going to have a good election this year. I think he might have been able to pull it out if COVID hadn't have happened. I mean, it was too big of a pill for people to swallow that that he was doing a good job or like great or whatever the hell, and this virus had killed 20,000 people or 200,000 people, excuse me. No, I think before COVID started, I don't say he would have won, but he would have had a much easier time against Biden because a lot of the stuff they would go after him over, they wouldn't do that good of a job of attacking. And it's sad too because there are a lot of other things they could, strike him at, like him repeatedly promising that he was going to have a new healthcare bill, and he literally hasn't introduced one in 3 years since the what was that thing called the American Healthcare Act? Since that failed in the House and Senate in 2017, we haven't seen any new healthcare proposal from Trump. And we just kept getting told that there's this new one that's going to be so good. Well, what the hell happened to it? Did they get lost in the mail? Did the papers get shredded? No explanation. Yeah, it's really sad that again he didn't have any healthcare proposal when at a time when what was it 30 million people lost health insurance under him, uh, and he still was able to get over 70 million votes. Like you get my thousands and millions mixed up. I just need my Godzilla movie. I used to have this one Godzilla game when I was little on Xbox. It was like Godzilla Melee or something. It was fun, and it was just randomly bought for me by like some friend of one of my parents because I had never shown any interest in Godzilla before. It was just a fun game. And then Dio's over there shouting yes. Yeah, that one. Destroy all monsters. And you almost had me thinking about destroy all humans. A lot of these politicians don't care. They're ghoulish psychopaths who want to enrich themselves at the expense of others. When you said ghoulish, you really just made me think of like a ghost, like like this is Danny Phantom or something. They turn into Ghost after dark. We find out that Slimer is one of the senators. This is Ghostbusters. They eat the dead bodies. Oh, now they're cannibals too. I've seen them. All right, I'll take your word for it. Turns out Barr is a phantom. Um, well, it is pretty rare for someone who's already been attorney general to get picked again to be attorney general. So maybe he threatened Trump by saying he was going to possess him or something. He's like, I will return to my position and you will appoint me. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'm going to go ghost and then just overshadow him. Why else do they not want to pass healthcare? More food for them. I would just say they don't care about other people. There's a lot of people that don't care about other people. I mean, hell, most Americans don't seem to really care about anybody else. If they're content with having politicians that support killing thousands overseas for no reason. Kissinger never worked for Trump. He's actually been around before that, but whatever. I did a whole documentary about that man. And none of my subs commented, and I was so heartbroken. I said, I wrote this script for days, and no one said a word. I mean, Dio, you said it like we don't know that you're 98. So nice try, but nice try, but you're not gonna trick us. That'd be funny if there's some left wing person that is like around the same age as him that like isn't Kissinger basically the evil counterpart, the evil doppelganger for Noam Chomsky? That's the reverse version. I don't remember Reagan only having one term though. I call Trump the new Herbert Hoover. That's the only person I'll compare him to. No, I don't see any way in which they could be compared to each other. The only thing they have in common is they're the only two presidents that got married multiple times, and that's about it. Well, I guess then Biden will be the new Reagan too, since he got married twice. Although that was under different circumstances where his wife died. Other than that, I really don't see any similarity between them. If you can hear that, I apologize. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens during the day. People always say it's at night when things are freaky and weird and strange, but over here, I would beg to differ because most of the weird interactions I have with people always tend to happen during the day. Because when you do stuff at night and people are usually sleeping, you're a lot less likely to run into someone, depending on where you are, of course. I was at the market about a month ago, and some old lady was trying to ask if I was this other person. I didn't say anything at first. I'm just like, if because I had the mask on, so I guess she wouldn't have been able to recognize who was anyway. But it's like if the person is not responding to you, they probably don't want to talk to you. So if you just like put your hand on them and I couldn't leave because I was in line, waiting my turn to get my stuff checked out. No, I just don't like people putting their hands on people they don't know or think they might know. It's really stupid. I mean, after the Me Too year, uh, you know, being a man and putting your hands on somebody doesn't seem like it's crazy how like they can put their hands on you, but you can't do that to anybody else. Well, I'm getting ready to exit anyway, so it's all good. Besides, there was just a whole bunch of weird stuff that happened this week with politics that especially between yesterday and today with that stupid debate performance that Loeffler had, where she sounded like she's the new Terminator, and Barr possibly resigning before Trump's term ends, because both of those together signaled little. Let's go ahead saying it. They're both strange things that happen, next to each other. Because it's really rare to see someone leave when they know the president's term is about to be up. Going to make a wish on Dragon Balls for Kamala's body. Are you trying to say he's in love with her? Like, what does that even mean? Is he gonna try to switch bodies with her? I don't know what that means. Please elaborate so I can figure out what you're talking about. Because I'm genuinely confused. That's what happens when you read the chat. It just throws you off. Like, what? Huh? All bewildered. So it doesn't even make any sense. So please explain what you meant by the deal. Watch him purposely not write what it is. Oh, Trump black. Well, wouldn't that mean that there would have to be a alternate version of him that like actually resembles him, that wears a black shirt and a gray top and white boots? Now you're making him sound more like Captain Ginyu than Goku Black. He's like, I like that body, and he punches himself in the chest. So that's why I was that comparison or what you were trying to say there didn't work out all that well. But anyways, thanks for showing up, Dio. Thank you, Sinister. I know you stopped typing after a while. Who else came here that I recognize? Yeah, that's about it. So I appreciate you showing up. I'll do a stream on Saturday. I'll put some stuff up between now and then. Have a good day.